The night did not begin with romance. It began with exhaustion, the kind that settles into your bones after years of trying to be enough for everyone and still coming up short. I remember standing under a flickering streetlight, phone pressed to my ear, rain soaking through my jacket, when her question reached me. It was not asked playfully or dramatically. It was asked with the quiet desperation of someone who had reached the edge of what they could handle alone. In that moment, I did not know that a simple favor would unravel two carefully guarded lives, or that pretending would become the most honest thing either of us had done in years. Before the story pulls you deeper, take a moment. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, in the idea that small choices can change entire lives, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel The Kindness Chronicles. Your support keeps stories like this alive, and sometimes that support reaches someone exactly when they need it most. I had met her months earlier in the most unremarkable way, which is often how the most important people enter our lives. We worked in the same building but on different floors, crossing paths in elevators and corridors, exchanging nods that slowly turned into conversations about weather, work stress, and the quiet disappointments we carried without naming. She had a way of listening that made you feel seen, even when she said very little. I was the opposite, filling silences with words, because silence reminded me too much of things I had lost. Neither of us imagined we would become anything more than familiar faces in a crowded city. Her life, as I would later understand, was a careful balancing act. She carried the weight of expectations like a second spine, standing straighter than she felt so no one would see how much it hurt. Her family was loving but traditional, deeply invested in appearances and milestones, in the idea that life should follow a predictable script. She had reached an age where questions about marriage were no longer casual. They were urgent, relentless, and heavy with judgment. Every family gathering became a reminder of what she had not yet achieved, of the ways she felt she was falling behind an invisible clock. My life was quieter, but not simpler. I had spent years recovering from a relationship that ended not in flames, but in slow erosion. Dreams postponed became dreams abandoned, and confidence gave way to caution. I had learned how to be alone so well that the idea of letting someone close again felt risky, almost irresponsible. Work became my refuge, routine my armor. I told myself I was content, but contentment can sometimes be a well-disguised fear of wanting more. When she asked me to pretend, it was not framed as a grand request. It was a small night, a family dinner, a few hours of playing a role to quiet questions and avoid conflict. I hesitated not because I did not care, but because I did. Pretending has consequences, and I had learned that stepping into someone else's story can change your own in ways you cannot predict. I asked if her family would be okay with me, and beneath that practical concern was a deeper one, whether I would be okay with myself after crossing that line. The night arrived wrapped in nervous anticipation. I remember the way the city lights blurred as we drove, the silence between us heavier than any conversation. We were two people about to perform a version of ourselves that did not yet exist, hoping it would be convincing enough to satisfy others while protecting what little peace we had. Her house stood warm and bright, a place filled with memories and expectations, and stepping inside felt like entering a different world. Her family welcomed me with polite curiosity that quickly sharpened into assessment. Every glance weighed us, every smile searched for authenticity. I felt the pressure to become someone worthy in their eyes, someone stable and successful and certain. She played her part with practiced grace, but I could sense the tension beneath her calm exterior. We were both walking a tightrope, aware that one misstep could send everything crashing down. As the evening unfolded, something unexpected happened. In trying to appear close, we became close. In trying to understand each other's rhythms to make the act believable, we began to genuinely connect. I noticed the way she relaxed when she laughed, how her shoulders dropped when she felt safe, how her eyes softened when she spoke about dreams she rarely allowed herself to voice. She noticed my hesitations, the careful way I spoke about the future, the scars left by past disappointments. The pretending blurred into something warmer, something real, but reality has a way of asserting itself, especially when built on fragile foundations. Questions grew more personal, expectations more explicit. I felt the weight of promises I had not made pressing in on me. She felt the fear of being exposed, of disappointing the people she loved. The night that was supposed to be simple became a crucible, forcing both of us to confront truths we had been avoiding. The drive back was quieter than the drive there, filled with thoughts neither of us knew how to share. The city seemed different, as if the lights themselves had changed tone. We had crossed a line together, and there was no going back to being just familiar faces in an elevator. The favor was over, but the impact lingered, settling into our lives in subtle, persistent ways. In the days that followed, we found excuses to see each other, to talk, to unpack what had happened. The act had revealed not just feelings, but fears. She spoke of the exhaustion of living up to expectations that did not align with her own desires. I spoke of the loneliness that comes from protecting yourself too well. We realized that what had begun as a performance had stripped away our defenses, leaving us more vulnerable than either of us had planned. Challenges did not disappear, they multiplied. Her family's expectations did not vanish with the end of that night. My own doubts did not magically resolve. There were moments when pulling away seemed easier, safer. We argued in quiet ways, through silences and hesitations, through missed calls and unanswered messages. Each of us had to decide whether the connection we felt was worth the risk of disappointment. What changed everything was not a grand gesture, but a series of small choices. Choosing to be honest when it would have been easier to pretend again, choosing to listen without trying to fix, choosing to show up even when fear whispered that leaving would hurt less. Slowly, trust replaced tension. The city that once felt isolating became a backdrop to shared moments, to walks and conversations that stretched late into the night. Her family, too, began to change, not because we convinced them with perfection, but because authenticity has a way of softening even the hardest expectations. They saw her lighter, more herself, and they began to understand that happiness does not always follow the script they imagined. I saw myself differently as well, realizing that protecting my heart had also been keeping it from growing. By the time we reached the point where pretending was no longer necessary, we had already built something real. It was not flawless or easy, but it was honest. The favor that began as a way to survive one night had become a turning point, teaching us both that sometimes the roles we play lead us to the truth we have been avoiding. As this story draws toward its end, I want to speak directly to you. If this journey of quiet courage, vulnerability, and unexpected connection touched your heart in any way, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in love and second chances, and subscribe to the Kindness Chronicles. Your engagement helps these stories reach others who might be standing under their own flickering streetlight, wondering if kindness can change anything. And before the final moment fades, I have one special request. Please comment below with a single line about a time when a small act of kindness changed your life, or when pretending led you to a deeper truth. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read